Welcome back to Match Night. A look at the upcoming international friendlies for the Canadian men's national team. Both, of course, live on One Soccer. September the 7th in Kansas City, Canada and the USA. And then on the 10th, just a few days later, they'll head to Arlington to take on El Tri. It is a return to Concacaf play for Les Rouges after a very busy summer with European friendlies and, of course, Copa America. This is Oh Canada, Oh Baby. It's presented by CIBC. We are going to talk about Concacaf now and Canada and where they might rank as we come out of one big tournament and into some exciting friendlies. We've asked both of these gentlemen to comprise their power rankings in Concacaf. Their top fives. We did ask Jimmy Brennan, and he checked his email this time.
Come on, Gaff.
And I never checked my email. He was submitted. So when you look at the column on the left, those are the FIFA World Rankings based on where nations are in CONCACAF right now. It is the United States, Mexico, Panama, Canada, Costa Rica. Jordan Wilson thinks that Canada is the second best team in the region, ahead of Panama, and has Mexico down in fourth. He also shows a little love to the Reggae Boys into fifth position in his rankings. And then Jimmy, now you can see that maple leaf bounding through him right there. Number one in CONCACAF, says Gaff. USA 2, Mexico 3, Panama, Costa Rica rounding out your list. The question is, why or why not is Canada your number one team? Jimmy, they're your number one team. Why is that?
They're my number one team because I think now with the run that we've had, obviously playing against France, playing against Holland, the Copa America, the run that we had there, the players now that we have in Europe with Cornelius going to Marseille, Coney going to Marseille, Bambino now possibly going to Nice, Theo Blair now has gone to Auxerre. All these players now are going into Europe right now. We've got a squad of tremendous players. We have depth as well when we get Adekubi and a few others that are going to be coming back to make it even stronger. But I like the way that we play under Jesse Marsch. You can see everybody's buying into what he's doing. We've got players that are playing in huge clubs across Europe right now. But every single one of them have an ego, but they leave it at the door when they come play for this Canadian national team. They've got one thing on their agenda, and that's to win. They want to be champions. They want to hold the trophy. And this is a group, for me, that's going to take CONCACAF by storm, and I think they're going to win this Gold Cup.
Can you tell he used to play for our country?
Just a little bit.
Like a little bit? Like you want to suit up, eh? You play with no shin guards right now as well. You get stuck in.
Yeah.
I agree with everything that you said, Gaff, and I'm not saying this because you're my former coach and a good friend. I'm saying this because it is true. However, I remember a Nations League final where the Americans looked like a big brother compared to the Canadians. And a 2-0 win was flattering on the day. It could have been more. What I'm basically trying to say is Canada in big moments when they need to win a final, when they need to get the job done, has it. And that's okay, but until that changes for me, and the U.S. keep winning Nations League, and for me being the kings of CONCACAF, that's why I'll put Canada second. I will say this is a second that is very daring, love to go forward. I'm on board with this team because I said once before that getting everyone to row in the same direction and work for each other was the biggest goal for this team. That is there. That is there in the flesh, and you have players playing at better clubs and at a better level altogether. But for me, it's still about winning because the last time they won, you were very young, Jimmy Brennan. Very young.
How old were you when you lifted that trophy?
20.
You think you had frosted tips?
21, 22.
You had frosted tips?
21 years
Yeah,
old. The fact that we have pictures hanging in the
tips.
studio and not that one makes me really, really
But do you know what?
Gaff,
Going on the American side, listen, there's no doubt about it. On paper, they've got a very good team.
Yes.
But the problem with the Americans right now, for me, is that their ego's getting away. And they struggle playing with one another. Whereas the Canadians, they put the egos to the side, and they come together, and they play football. And that's why they went on a good run, and the Americans got knocked out.
We're looking at Mopo. Now he's the American coach.
That's where reportedly, it's not done yet.
We're pretty much there, I feel. I feel like he's there. Is that changing? Like, I think someone like that, you always think club managers to go over to the international side is a bit daring. You could maybe say you never really think it's going to happen, but he's going to be the guy to really change it for the squad, if he's there.
Well, Jordan Wilson, being eager beaver, is
I'm excited.
Jumping the gun by like 5 seconds. So Jordan's right. There is lots of reporting right now that the CONCACAF coaching landscape will continue to change drastically. And it's not just Mauricio Pochettino who is rumored to be taking over a new job with a big CONCACAF nation. Steve McLaren, the former Manchester United assistant to Jamaica, Aguirre he heads, and Mexico will be hoping that the third time's the charm for Javier Aguirre, who goes to coach El Tri. Look how different this is from just a few months ago, where this region was, who was leading the different countries forward into Copa America and into those Nations League final. Jimmy, how much do you factor in what the different profiles, the different experiences of these coaches can have on the successes of Jamaica, of Mexico, of the United States of America, and certainly what we saw with Jesse Marsch when we start to roll into Nations League next time around?
Well, I think it's quite important to really understand Concacaf as well at the same time. And I think with Jesse Marsch has everything. He's coached in the Premier League, he's coached in Europe, he understands Major League Soccer, he understands Concacaf, he knows this region, he knows how difficult it is. So he brings everything to the table. With Mexico, with their manager that they've had, yeah, he's been there previously before. He took them to the World Cup in 2002, 2010. He won a Gold Cup in 2009. With Monterrey in Mexico, he won the Champions League. This guy brings absolutely everything, and he's a no-nonsense coach. He will get the best out of these players, and that's going to be a surprise team for me as well. I think they're going to push forward under this manager because he is a guy that won't deal with all the nonsense that's going on down in Mexico. For me, this Mexican team right now is probably the worst I've seen in a very, very long time, if not ever. Yeah. I've always been a big fan of Mexican football. But this is the right guy for this Mexican team at the moment. I think Jesse Marsch is the right guy for Canada, and McLaren as well. It's going to be a new test for him. He's always been in Europe, now coming into CONCACAF and trying to figure it all out and how it works over here, the travel, playing in different conditions, and trying to get the best out of this Jamaican team. There's no doubt they do have talent. They're a bit older on paper, but it'd be interesting to see how good he is going to be with this Jamaican side and what they can do. And
not to mention, one of his jobs is for any nation in that position is Steve McLaren's going to be knocking on doors. Hey, your grandparent is from Jamaica. He's been knocking. He's there. Steve McLaren. And you obviously rate the future of this program. I know, seeing those rankings of yours, you believe that outside of the top three, they could be the one to sort of give the North Americans the biggest trouble.
Yeah, I just don't think, like, looking at CONCACAF teams and putting Jamaica fifth, that they're a team you'd want to play, especially if they get certain players in. Like, I know that there's a lot, I think that has a lot to do with the federation. Is there a bit of bias because of family history on putting Jamaica fifth? Probably. But I do believe that if they get some of the top players that could play for Jamaica, they could get things going, especially with someone like Steve McLaren behind the wheel. Like, pushing players to play, getting certain guys that are living in England right now to play for Jamaica, but also just someone that was the right-hand man of Sir Alex Ferguson, who knows what it takes to get a unit on the same wavelength. So I really like their odds. This was me putting into gear of what maybe this next year will be like, 2024, 2025. I think Jamaica could really make a push. And Mexico, just quickly about the Mexican side, watching their team, even when you were playing Gaff, there's so many names that you loved, and you're like, this guy's a baller. Right now, for me, they seem pretty rudimentary, pretty ordinary.
What is it about Costa Rica and Panama that gives them the edge in your eyes over Jamaica right now?
I like Panama at the moment. I think they got a fantastic manager with Thomas Christensen. I like the way that they play. They play good football. They're a big side as well. And every single one of them, apart from one, is actually playing overseas. Right. So they're playing in South America. They're playing in Europe. They're playing in all parts of the world right now. And they've got a great youth program that's coming through the system right now as well. So for me, this team, Panama, is very, very exciting to watch. And I think they're going to shine. They're going to shine. They're going to do an awful lot this year, Panama. And then Costa Rica. I like Costa Rica simply as well because they do play good football. They had some good results lately as well. But they are young. They're a very, very young team. 23 and under, the majority of the players. And they're all playing for good clubs as well.
And with the announcement of Javier Aguirre, he brings Rafa Marquez on his staff, father of now York United loanee Santiago Marquez. So the connections continue to close there as well. Before we hit another break and move on, we need to talk about expectations. This is what we do in Canada. I know the supporters and viewers at home watching this understand this. Canada, they go into a big tournament, they put on a show, whether they underwhelm or overwhelm or perfectly whelm. The next conversation is, when are they going to start winning trophies? And I remember you sat on that couch, Jimmy Brennan, and talking before Gold Cup and Nations League. Is today the day, or is this group ready? Should we start expecting more from them? Should they be the one to lift the trophy? They obviously didn't. We fast forward to now. Should this team be truly competing, if not lifting silverware?
I'm expecting them to lift silverware, absolutely. And I think if you ask every one of those players, they'll say the exact same thing. They want to win trophies.
That's the next step. It's got to be. And I think now we can get behind this team and be like, this could be their moment.
We'll find out, and you'll all see it right here on One Soccer very, very soon. Canada, Mexico, Canada, USA, international friendlies. And you know we'll be teeing up those games on One Soccer today. It airs every Monday and Thursday. I'll be hosting that all week because Gareth, again, famously on vacation right now. Join us on One Soccer today. Best and worst is coming up next on Match Night.